It's time for the show that brings the magic right to your speakers. Ears up!
What is up, everybody? Ears Up podcast. We are on a roll today. We have the history of the Rivers of America traffic, part 3, which is, I would presume, would cap the series, the trifecta, the whatever. History of the Davy Crockett Explorer Canoes by Taren. And she's like, there's kind of not really she was just starting the research. She goes, it's been kind of the same since 1956. So I don't know. But she's like, I found 10 pages. I'm like, there you go, man. Oof. Everything has a story in Disneyland, and even the canoes, which seemingly they don't change. What are they going to do? You know what I mean? It's not like you can get a refurb.
Right. Well, yeah, I thought I'd have to talk more about lobster roll. We'd have to have Rob back on.
That's right. Yeah. So we got that going for us, which is nice. Taren's going to join us later. But right now we have Rob from Bantha Milk podcast to tell us a little bit about some Star Wars news. I thought that'd be nice to get Rob in here and talk a little Star Wars because, everyone knows my stance on Star Wars currently right now is which I'm ambivalent. Embezzlement. I'm embezzling it.
Yes. Star Wars.
Yeah. So I feel like we should bring in Rob to chat a little bit about Star Wars news. Rob, what is up, dude? How are you?
Good. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. Give me a little rundown. What's going on over on Bantha Milk? What are you boys up to?
So we are doing 2 different versions of our show right now.
Whoa.
Yeah, we're taking after Ears Up and Ears Up in Depth, where you did 2 different types of Ears Up shows. We're doing... we still have the main show going on, which is a little harder to come up with some content right now because, our main show, we normally give you good rundowns of what happened on TV shows or movies that have gone on in Star Wars since Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been much going on recently, so it's a little difficult for us to do anything about that. But in the meantime, I was listening to this other podcast, which I really enjoyed, where they have 2 guests on and 4 questions. Everybody brings a question. They have a nice roundtable discussion. So I pirated that. I stole that idea.
Good.
Who would do such a thing?
Who would do such a thing? So I stole that idea from them. And we do the same thing. But it's all Star Wars related. So every 2 weeks or so, we have 2 guests on. And I have another friend of mine, Tom, who's been on my show quite a few times. He's my co-host for that. So Tom and I, and then 2 other guests come on. Everybody brings a question. We all debate them. And sometimes we say who's got the best answer. Sometimes we just enjoy everybody's answers. Because if there's anything about Star Wars, it's that everybody has their own opinion on everything dealing with Star Wars.
No. Impossible to say that. How dare you say that?
So the show we just recorded actually was, we just recorded it on Monday and it released, whatever. I don't know when this is going out, but it released on February 7th because February 7th, yeah, neither do you.
Yeah.
February 7th was Star Wars Podcast Day. It's
like a real thing.
It's a pseudo real thing. Yes.
It's been a real thing for a while, I think.
It's been a real thing. This is the 4th year of it. 25 years ago, 3 guys created the first Star Wars podcast. Even before they were called podcasts, they were recording stuff and dumping them down onto AOL and all that good stuff that we had 25 years ago. And they've been going strong ever since then. So this other fellow was really proud of them. And he said, hey, let's do a tribute show to them. So he found as many Star Wars podcasts as he could to do a special show on February 7th, which is the day that the first one came out. So there's 90 different Star Wars podcasts all involved in the Star Wars Podcast Day. So we were involved. We did one of I call it the Around the Dejeric table, which is the table that Chewbacca plays chess on inside of the Millennium Falcon.
Geez, we know, Rob. Come on.
I know.
I did. I had no idea.
You would know it if you saw it, but you probably didn't know that it was called a Dejeric table. So
I think he's like a baseball player.
Right.
Yeah. The Derek Jeter.
The Derek Jeter, yes. Yeah, he's a very good baseball player. But yeah, so he we do that's what I call that version of the show. And on this Star Wars Podcast Day, we had 2 very special guests on. We had this guy from this podcast called Puny Pod.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
Sounds dumb. Yeah.
We had Ryan GH. Our GH was on. He was a great guest. And then we had this other guy from this YouTube channel called Screen Crush, which is a pretty big YouTube channel. They have only 1.4 million followers.
Wow.
Yeah, so we had Ryan Airy from Screen Crush on. He brought a question. We all answered. RGH brought a question. We all asked and answered. And it was a good time. So that one dropped on February 7th. That's our latest episode. So if you are interested in wanting to know what any of those 4 people have to say on 4 specific questions,
that sounds good.
Yeah,
I like that that kind of format because it sort of forces a conversation where oftentimes you can get people who might not jive, or there's some sort of like personality barrier or whatever, but all this kind of forces your hand. So I think it's cool, man. It's working out pretty fun.
Yeah, it's working out great. That's our 6th version of that, and it was Ryan. When Ryan Airy came on, he was like, "Oh, I'm not used to this. I'm used to people just asking me questions. Not that I needed to bring my own." Joe.
Yeah, it's kind of different, I bet.
It is a little different, yeah. So
That's fun.
It was fun. It was cool. So we're doing that. We got our regular show, but one of the things we do on our regular show is we always have a little bit of Star Wars news. So I figured I'd bring you some of our Star Wars news so that the listeners here on the main show would know what to expect over on Bantha Milk, and you can hear my sultry voice some more if you really want to check it out. So
That's true. Yeah, what's going on in Star Wars world?
So in Star Wars world, we have to start first with our in memory of.
Yeah.
I forget what the big word is. I can't say the whatever. But
Memoriam.
Memoriam.
Yeah.
That's the word. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good old Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
May have known him as he was in Rocky as a bad guy and then a good guy. He fought an alligator in Happy Gilmore. We actually didn't see him fight the alligator, but we knew about it because he had a giant wooden hand instead of it. He also fought an invisible alien in Predator. But when it comes to Star Wars, he was our good friend Grief Karga from The Mandalorian. And he had just recently passed away. So in memoriam of, where did it go? Of good old Carl Weathers. He was like in his 70s and he looked great. So
Too young, man. What happened?
Yeah, he had kind of a
what he died from?
resurgence.
yeah, he did. He was fun in The Mandalorian. I really enjoyed him, and he had even like the third season or the third season, he wasn't a big part of it, but he definitely had like a good story arc where he was now like the mayor of a town or whatever, and it was pretty cool. So So we're gonna miss him. Also from The Mandalorian, Cara Dune was the character. She was like a fighter also in The Mandalorian. She was played by a person named Gina Carano.
Oh man, yeah.
So she got fired from Disney because she had some very one-sided tweets that she posted that were not in agreement with the Disney philosophy of treating people and respect and all that stuff. So she got fired, and now it is official now. After, I don't know if you saw a couple months ago, Elon Musk tweeted something that anybody who got fired because they were, unjustly fired, reach out to me. And she tweeted back to him saying,
Oh, man.
what about me?
Those two people are perfect for each other.
They are perfect.
They're just two just utter dorks.
So needless to say, he's taking her up on that, and he is helping her sue Disney over her firing. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes.
Yeah. First of all, she couldn't have cared too much because she waited. What was that? 5 years? 4 years? Something like that. She waited this long. And, the other thing is, like, doesn't Elon have anything better to spend his money on? I mean, it's free advertising for Twitter, but it's like, you could really be helping people with this money that you're literally throwing away. You could actually do a lot of good, but you want to be this weird dork and whatever. Good for them, man. I look forward to years and years of online commentary about how free speech isn't free and how everybody should get to do whatever they want.
Yeah. Well, she can say whatever she wants. She just can't work for Disney anymore for saying it.
This is the thing about free speech and the whole Elon thing. It's like, you can say whatever you want. It doesn't mean there's not consequences for it.
Yeah, exactly.
So she said some things. There were consequences. Okay. But you could still say it. You said it.
You said it.
There you go. Now you're free to say it even more.
Yeah, you can say it even more now because you don't have to worry about Disney telling you otherwise.
Right. All right. Well, good luck to them. I
good
look
luck
forward
to
to following this. Yeah.
Me too. We have a couple new movie updates and then also a new TV series update. And then that's the end of my news, and you can get on to the normal Disney stuff here. Disney finally released that they're coming out with some new movies. The first movie to come out is speaking of The Mandalorian, is a movie now called Mandalorian and Grogu, which is to come out sometime in 2026.
What such a creative name. What a good name.
It sounds
awesome, it's like a buddy
like
comedy.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Turner and Hooch.
That's exactly what I wrote down on my notes. It sounds like Turner and Hooch, like a buddy cop film. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Don't eat that. That's evidence.
As the frog's hanging out of his mouth. Disney CEO Bob Iger has confirmed that The Mandalorian and Grogu will be the next Star Wars movie to release, launching a new wave of films. The Mandalorian was the flagship show on Disney Plus, with the first episode premiering, blah, 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 with its launch 5 years ago. So these are the other movies that are supposed to be coming out. And we all know, you guys have discussed this numerous times. Disney says all these things and then things never happen. And it happens with Star Wars as well. We've had so many different movies that were supposed to come out that we haven't seen, and they get scrubbed and whatever. But it looks like at least 3 of these are legitimate. So we got the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, which is directed by Jon Favreau. So that's definitely in the works. We have Rey's new Jedi Order movie, which we don't know the title of that yet. That's also definitely in the works. And I can't say the lady's name who's directing it. Charmin Obaid Chinoy. I'm probably butchering her name. Something along those lines. She has gone out and they were talking about how it's not going to be a girl power movie, even though it's a girl director and a girl lead and all this stuff, but it is going to be a very good movie. So that's our second movie. Dawn of the Jedi is the third movie that they have scripted for right now that they're working on. That will be directed by James Mangold. And then this is what I love about, when they plan movies so far out. The Mandalorian era climax movie is just what they have it listed now.
That's spicy. That's adults only.
Super secret code name.
Secret code name, yes.
Yeah.
That one will be directed by Dave Filoni in the next few years or so. So they're trying to get back into movies again. And everybody says they haven't done a movie since Solo. And then also Episode 9, they came out like relatively close to each other.
Yeah.
Everywhere you read, Solo was a flop. Solo was a flop. And I was like, okay, why exactly was Solo a flop?
Oh, I can tell you.
Other than
aside from that one line.
Yeah.
Aside from most everything about it. Yeah.
And what is your last name? I don't have one. Okay, Solo it is.
Yeah, I'm by myself, not alone. I'm Han alone. Because I was alone.
There's nobody standing next to me.
My last name is Party of 3 because I had 3 people in my party.
There were 2 other people with Solo grossed $330 million in the domestic box office. Or I'm sorry, take that back. It grossed $257 million in the domestic box office. So I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money. But apparently it was one of the most expensive movies ever made, and it would cost over $330 million to make. So because of that, it lost $73 million, which is why the word flop has been stamped onto this movie, because it lost $73 million after making $257 million.
That's the business, baby.
That's the business. So that movie scared off Disney from their said, oh, maybe we saturated too much and people didn't want to go every year to see a Star Wars movie. So they stopped doing it for a little while. Yeah. And now they're trying to come back again. The next lowest grossing movie actually made $281 million was The Rise of Skywalker. It grossed $603 million at the domestic box office on a budget of $322 million. So there's a big jump between the worst grossing movie and the worst grossing movie. Wow. There.
Well, and you can sort of tell how like the vibe, because I don't remember toys from that movie, from Solo. I don't remember a single thing. I mean, maybe like the first initial wave for promo, but that was it.
Yeah, I got a button at Disneyland.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. You don't remember a Solo. I mean, it wasn't only just that line. It was the guy was like a little too weird. I did not like Donald Glover's acting choices. Yeah. I just everything about it I didn't like. I was thoroughly disappointed from Soup to nuts, as they say.
As they say, yes.
I don't know. Well, maybe these will be good. Who knows?
Who knows? So hopefully these next movies will redeem themselves, will redeem the Star Wars franchise, and with the title of Mandalorian and Grogu, how can you go wrong?
You can't really. The merch just prints itself at that point. The T-shirts just are like this. I mean, we are the further we get down the Star Wars content, we literally are just living in a Spaceballs movie.
Right.
It's Mandalorian and Grogu, the merchandise. That's what it's going to be at one point. I swear to God, that's where we're going to go.
They can just stamp the movie's name on most of the merchandise they already have these days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
that's of course.
Just throw that over top of what they have and call it a day.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that I want to talk about is starting on February 21st is the Bad Batch season 3 will premiere, and it's the last season of the Bad Batch. The Bad Batch is an animated series. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed season 2. Season 2 got really good. Season 1 in the beginning was a little slow, but then season 2 was really, really good. So it's 5 clones that have all been altered somehow. So each one of the clones are drastically different than the normal clones that you see.
Like this show.
Like So like this show. Yeah. And one of the clones is actually a girl. She's a child as well.
Just like this show. Weird.
Just like this show. We have one girl clone on this show. And at the end, I don't want too many spoilers, but at the end of season 2, there was a big cliffhanger dealing with the girl and stuff. And so now season 3 is going to pick up right after that. And we're going to see different things. Now, of course, since it's Star Wars, everybody has theories as to what's going to happen.
Oh, good.
There were 3 different trailers that came out. They were all really good. They didn't really tell you much. There was a couple of characters that you saw a little bit, and people were like, "Oh, who's this and who's that?" So I'm not going to go this. I have an article here from Screen Rant of 8 Star Wars theories explained. I'm not going to go into all 8. I just want to go to the first 2, or just 2 of them, I should say.
Okay.
Asajj Ventress is going to be in it, and she comes on the path of becoming a Jedi again. She was really cool. Bad guy in the original Clone Wars animated series. Very popular for the people who enjoyed the Clone Wars. She was a very popular character. So the fact that they're bringing her back and you see her in the trailer is letting everybody know that she is back and whatever. So that will be pretty exciting because she was once an aspiring Sith apprentice, but at the end of her arc in Star Wars, the Clone Wars saw her starting a new life as a bounty hunter. So now we're going to see her again here in the Bad Batch. At the very end of season 2, we also saw that there was another girl, and then we also see Boba Fett, a young Boba Fett clone as well. All these clones are all off of Jango Fett, so we're actually going to see Boba Fett, and then the 2 girls all together. And then last but not least, the last one that I wanted to, there was one of the characters, Crosshairs, was one of the main characters in it, but then he turns bad and blah, 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 whatever. Thing is that he's probably going to come back and get a good story arc, a redemption arc coming back, which will be awesome because it'll definitely put a nice, pretty little bow on the end of this series with everybody back together again and everybody happy. I love bows.
Okay.
I'm excited for that. Season 2 was really, really good, so I'm sure season 3 is going to be even better. And since it's the finale, the final season, I'm sure that guy Dave Filoni really did some good writing in here to make it phenomenal. So,
I'm sure
a lot of people don't like the cartoons because they go, "I don't watch cartoons," but you really should because a lot of them have great stories to them, and Bad Batch is one of them. So,
there you go.
I'm here to say, watch it.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with Rob, dude. Do it. Whatever. Very good, Rob.
Well, thank you. So, if you like that, like listening to me talk, check me out over there on that other one.
Like Star Wars, that other one's got it all, you guys.
That other one's got it all. That Bantha Milk show over there, we got it all. So that's it. It's late
Very
for
good.
me.
Yeah,
So.
go to bed, man. Get out of go. You got to teach the youth of tomorrow.
I do.
Yeah.
That I do. Yes.
All right, brother.
Well, thank you. Thank you for letting me come on.
Of course.
Have a great night. And
all right,
buddy. Bye.
Hey, Rob.
All right, well, that was cool. A little Star Wars action on the young Thursday evening. You know what I mean?
Young Thursday evening.
Yeah, I don't know. Sure, whatever, dude. Who cares? I'm like overheating because I made some tea and I'm like boiling right now. But what are you gonna do? If all that Star Wars talk hyped you up and you want to go visit Star Wars in person, well, you can't, but you sort of can. Go to the parks, and the way to do that is through Concierge. You go to concierge.com, book a trip with them. They will plan everything for you, free of charge, whatever. And then you can go and live out your fantasies on the Millennial Falcon. And you say the seats aren't comfortable enough and ask for the manager all the time. And then, say, oh, I can't really, drive this. It's really too hard. I want my money back. And, just generally be a millennial.
Oh, okay.
That's my joke. Yeah. Okay.
I'm
Go to concierge.com. They're good people. They help you plan your vacations. They take all the worry out of planning. You don't have to book the stupid hotel reservations or park reservations or anything, whatever. You don't got to do anything. You just give them your card and say, this is when I want to go. And they go, okay. And then they make you go. They take you they piggyback ride you, as a matter of fact. They will go through, pay a little bit extra, not much, just a little bit. And you ride on someone's back all day. A little sweaty, but
not exactly how it works.
There's a moisture barrier. What do you know?
Well,
what do you know? I got the ad copy. It's what they wrote to me. I don't know what to say.
Sweaty backs.
Yeah. Well, there's a moisture barrier. So like I said,
right.
So you wrap them in. It's a whole thing. I'll show you the images.
Can't wait.
Anyway, concierge.com. They are official travel partner and they can be yours too. So check them out. Hi, Taren.
Hi.
Ready to talk some river traffic?
Yes.
All right.
Once again, I'm back for river traffic.
Nice. And then we'll do that. And Erik has something to talk to us about. I don't know what.
Right.
Are you eating again, Erik?
I am eating again.
Nice.
Lovely.
Gotta love it. So we'll do that after the break. But for now, Taren.
Continuing on our journey through the rivers of America, today I'm bringing you the third and final part of our river traffic series. A few episodes back, we talked at length about the history of the Mark Twain riverboat and then the sailing ship Columbia, and now we've made our way to the northernmost dock on the western bank of the river to Davy Crockett's Explorer Canoes. To understand the full history of the Canoes, you first have to learn about the Indian village at Disneyland, which has a vast history that I'll only touch on here, but we'll save the myriad of details for another dedicated show because there are plenty of details for an entire show. The original Indian village at Disneyland opened in 1955 in Frontierland and showcased American Indians and their culture. Now, by today's standards, this entire area might feel somewhat inappropriate or at the very least cringy. But television westerns featuring cowboys and Indians were such huge hits in the 1950s that this kind of depiction was just standard. And in order to understand Disneyland's village, you really do need to filter your opinion through what was acceptable in the mid-20th century. So when I look at photos of Indian Village, I am instantly uncomfortable.
I was going to say feeling right at home. Yeah.
No.
This makes sense to me. This is comforting. It's like mom's mac and cheese. Just some casual racism. It's fine.
Yeah, it feels like it feels like something that probably shouldn't have happened. I mean, is it okay that they only hired Native Americans? I don't know. Is it okay that they're showcasing sacred dances and practices? I don't know. It instantly feels to me like something that shouldn't be on display at a corporate park that makes money.
I think it's cool. I thought it was always cool when I heard that.
I mean,
because that's what they're doing. They're there to show the culture, but it does feel like the performative nature was a little exploitative.
Well, and I really want to get into this when we do an actual Indian Village show, but you're right. I think went through a lot of Reddit posts about Indian Village, and the reality is that they really did do a good job.
I mean,
the best they could, but there are so many different tribes. There are so many different things. It's kind of like the Polynesian Moana problem, where it's like, if you can't show all of it, maybe don't try and show any of it. Plus, you're also making a huge profit on culture. And you're kind of, I mean, I get into it a little bit, but you're kind of giving the hoop-de-doo happy version of what history was.
Well, that's all anybody wants.
There's one of two westerns: the fun song and dance ones, or the shoot 'em up ones, and it's white guys versus darker skinned guys, or really tanned white guys.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's usually Italians playing.
There you go.
And that's just kind of how it's been for decades until, relatively recently, I would imagine, in cinema history. But, anyway, like you said, we'll get into it later.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot to talk about with Indian Village.
Yeah.
This is only just such a small portion of it. But Disneyland and its patrons at the time really did consider this area authentic and respectful. So much so that a year later in 1956, for $100,000, the entire Indian Village was picked up and moved to essentially where Splash Mountain and Critter Country currently exist.
Oh, good. Not problematic at all. That whole unproblematic area.
That didn't exist yet.
Okay. Well, yeah, but still, it's almost like the movie Poltergeist. where that's
that
probably
area
why.
is
Yeah.
just always going to be a problem.
Yes, that's probably why Splash Mountain just didn't work eventually.
Yeah.
Where like the racism
It's
just
the
caught up
racist
with everybody.
poltergeist,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're racist. He's like the person on the
Yeah, on the TV.
I don't know, on the picture TV when the pictures. Never mind. Go ahead.
This expanded area included larger demonstration areas and a greater seating capacity at the dance circle. According to a former Native American chief,
This is very funny phrasing to me. A bigger seating at the dance circle, the Indian dance circle. I don't know why.
According to a former Native American chief who worked in this expanded Indian village in the late 50s, Disney actually did a pretty good job of featuring various tribes and traditions of Native American culture, and it was truly seen as a place to learn and experience the culture of early America. That said, it's pretty obvious from today's lens that the whole history of early America wasn't quite complete in this depiction, and it certainly has kind of a rose-colored glasses viewpoint.
Yeah, at like halfway through each showing, Walt should come and be like, "Oh, I know we told you could stay here, but you can't. We're going to take half your land and cough on you."
Well, and some people kind of made that note where, like, in order to get to the Indian village, you had to actually, like, right past Haunted Mansion back then, there was a tunnel. So it wasn't open, and you had to walk through this tunnel, and when you got to the other side of the tunnel, that was Indian Village. So they took it from, like, in front of what used to be Aunt Jemima's pancake house.
Again,
so that's where
another problematic thing. Yeah.
So that's where it originally was, and they picked it up and moved the Indians back to the back of the park. And it's the only place. It was the only place in the park where you had to walk through dirt. Essentially like a dirt path to get there. Everywhere else was
paved, and so that you're passing under the train, right? That's the tunnel,
I would guess.
I don't know that.
It
for
might
a fact,
be in front of the train, but why else would they have a tunnel?
I think the berm was kind of there at the time.
I mean, I don't know. Look, at one point, because the Indian Village was in like Frontierland or whatever, I think, right?
Is it Frontierland?
Yeah, and then so they moved it. And the only other place they probably had, they couldn't imagine putting a village in Tomorrowland. So it's the only place they had. So
absolutely.
There's a lot of people who want to be sensitive about it because they feel good about it. But factually, that's where they could go. I'm sure there was nothing like Walt wouldn't want to banish people he's paying for to a part of the park nobody wants to go to, right? So
he's trying to expand.
And
right.
I'm
not saying any of it was done on purpose, and I'm not saying
you are, but I thought like the vibe I got from people online, like you were saying, was like that's weird, but.
It is weird, though. I mean, that's what I mean. From today's lens, you can read a lot into this, and you can find a lot of parallels into what really happened to the Indians and what happened to them at Disneyland. And it's not true, but it can be a discussion to be had, and it's sort of there's a lot. With Indian Village. It's an interesting place.
Yeah.
There were signs around Indian Village depicting how parts of the village represented different Indian nations and how the structures, like the teepees, would have been used. And some of these examples include, quote unquote, "This is an authentic reproduction of a typical encampment of Plains Indians and their way of life during the years when the white man first entered the vast Indian territory of the West." That was one of the signs. Another one, "The teepees are decorated with symbols and figures telling of important family and tribal events or great battles." So it was almost like a museum, like a living museum.
Yeah, sure.
That's kind of that was the idea behind it, which they actually did a good job. It's just, it would never fly today. This area of the park was made up of only Native American cast members who were encouraged to share their cultures with park guests. They showcased ceremonial dances and craft demonstrations, all of which were completely genuine. One cast member in Indian Village, Chief Whitehorse, was the last fluent speaker of the Otoa-Zoria language, and throughout his life, including his tenure at Disneyland, he did much to preserve and pass along his knowledge, history, traditions, and language. Now, Disney did do a good job of creating an immersive and educational atmosphere for American Indian culture. However, a lot of it would have never flown in today's world. And aside from the sheer vastness of various Native American cultures being crammed into a small area with a few generalized traditions being featured, there was also verbiage that wouldn't make the cut today. And I don't know how bad these are, so I don't know if I should say them out loud, but the bathrooms...
Yes, you should say them.
The bathrooms were separated into men and women, and the men's had a sign that said for braves.
Yeah.
And the women's bathroom was for squaws.
Okay.
And those are both racial slurs today.
What? Really?
Yeah.
How?
In reference to Native Americans.
They're just such generic terms from Western movies.
Yeah.
So that's why they're using these. It's another example of things that were fine then, but sure shouldn't do it. Because it's probably maybe there was a tribe that called their people suchly, but we sure didn't know in the 50s. And I don't know today, so I can't speak to it.
All right.
And squaws, I looked it up, and that was the one I was nervous about. It translates to like loose woman.
Nice.
But it also refers to Native American women. So I can see how that became a slur.
Wait, is that like an English term for loose women?
I don't know. I didn't really dive too deep into that. But yeah, so there were some words around that wouldn't fly today, and that's kind of the point.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Similarly, the canoes attraction in Indian Village were called Indian war canoes. And when you set out on the river in your shared canoe, you and your boatmates were considered the war party. Now, again, not what we would call necessarily politically correct. Now, beyond the questionable naming of the attraction, the canoes were a popular staple in the early days of Disneyland. The original 1956 Indian war canoes had actual small engines that supplemented guest rowing, and they were built by a mysterious company in Maine. And I say mysterious because there seems to be absolutely zero record of who built these canoes. And after a way too deep of a dive into this, I personally have narrowed it down to a few potential candidates. The Dolphin Craft Boat and Canoe Company, Howe Fur Company, Seabago Boat and Canoe Company, or the Shorty Built Boat and Canoe Company. And all of these Maine-based companies were actively building custom canoes in the 1950s. But as many of them are no longer around, there is no documentation claiming if any of these companies were actually contracted by Disney.
How big was the call for custom-built canoes in the 50s?
Apparently 4 companies
to be
worth.
Quite honest, the list I found of companies only in Maine from the 1800s to today was like 80 companies long. I mean, I had no idea so many canoes were being made.
Oh, sure. Well, they call the 50s the decade of the canoe.
You would
So,
think.
Can you believe it?
Very good.
Yeah, not really.
So the paddles, whose design and production is also not documented, were, by my research, very likely made by the specialty oar and paddle company Shaw and Tenney, who later provided period-specific oars to the Canada Pavilion at Epcot. I did find that out.
Okay, well, there you go,
And
man.
they were still around. They were around when the canoes first came about. So that's my guess, is that they provided these paddles.
Look at you, man. Important internet sleuthing.
Really, really trying here.
Yeah, you're doing good. The wood was grown from trees. Now, trees really started populating the earth after the meteorite that wiped the dinosaurs, because before it was a fungal thing. So that's why... Yeah.
Look, there's not a lot of history on the canoes.
I know, yeah.
Either way, these original boats were not made nor designed by Disney. That part I do know. This is unique for Disneyland, to have an attraction vehicle not actually designed and made by them. But I suspect that this actually probably has something to do with their desire to have the canoes be as authentic to Native American culture as possible, which is actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
If that's accurate and true.
Sure. Let's say it is, man.
We'll say
Why
it is.
not?
Look, history is written by the winners. So, it's clear that Disney company's winning today. So they can say whatever they want.
Right. So over the next 15 years, Disneyland went through a lot of changes. Notably for this area of the park was the opening of New Orleans Square in 1966, then Pirates of the Caribbean in 1967, and the Haunted Mansion in 1969. And soon after the completion of these major attractions, guests became less interested in the Indian Village. Other challenges began to arise as well, stemming from social unrest in the late 1960s. Disneyland has vaguely documented the issues that arose as quote-unquote labor problems with the Native American performers. These labor problems...
Typical.
Yeah.
Come on.
These labor problems, along with the increasingly reduced interest in the area by guests who were now more interested in spacemen and aliens, led Disney to officially close the Indian Village in October 1971. A year later, in 1972, The Indian Village area of the park was completely overhauled and reopened as Bear Country, which actually became its own land. So it was no longer part of Frontierland. It was now its own thing. This new land showcased the exciting stage attraction, Country Bear Jamboree, of course. And luckily, the Indian War Canoes attraction were a part of the former Indian village that had remained popular, so this attraction also remained. It was renamed, however, to Davy Crockett's Explorer Canoes, which matched the more country living theme rather than the Native Americans. And these canoes were now piloted by frontiersmen and women donning Davy Crockett's famous coonskin caps.
Which is very emblematic of sort of what happened to the Native Americans anyways, right? They were here.
This is what I'm saying.
Again,
they were built around. Then they're like, hey, we got some land way off here. You guys go there. And then eventually they just poof.
They're
gone. And then now we have the frontiersmen who conquered the evil red man.
Exactly.
And then we're going to drive around in their canoes.
We've got your boats.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
We'll take over. We got it from here.
Yeah.
And yeah, basically. The canoes no longer had any kind of engine, and they were 100% guest powered. These are made from fiberglass, and they have an air ballast tank under the bottom, which protects the canoe from tipping and making it mostly unsinkable. Each boat is 35 feet long, which is about 10 to 15 feet longer than traditional canoes, and weighs 1 ton, which is 2,000 pounds.
Jeez.
And that's empty.
I would hope so. First of all, yeah. That's wild.
Yeah.
And it's fiberglass? Holy cow.
Yeah, this is what I don't
The
get.
ballast underneath must be super heavy.
Must be, I guess. Yeah, to keep it
air
upright.
ballast, so it's just air.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get the whole thing. I tried to look up ballasts, and I can understand a hydro ballast, but I couldn't understand an air ballast because I'm like, it's air.
Just empty space, I guess.
Yeah, it's empty space. Like, you're not pushing more air in there. So I don't know. I got a little confused by that, so I didn't go into detail.
Yeah.
Each canoe has 10 rows and can carry 20 passengers each, along with 2 cast members, one at the front and one at the rear. There is no height requirement for Davy Crockett's Explorer canoes, although small children and those who announce that they cannot swim will need to wear life vests. This attraction. So if you say you can't swim, guess what?
Yeah.
This attraction is seasonal and has limited hours. You cannot ride the canoes in the rain or most of the winter months, and it does close at night. So because of this, if you see it open during your trip, I suggest you go on it. And while the schedule is generally available at City Hall, you never really know when it's going to be open. Just do it. Now, what's kind of neat is that the canoes that reopened in 1971 in Bear Country are the same ones that we see today. While the actual boats have, of course, been upkept over the years, the actual attraction is virtually exactly the same. Again, there is no actual documentation on who made these canoes. However, I did find some evidence that a man named Henry Valancourt, a canoe maker since 1965 out of New Hampshire, claimed on his About Me page that one of his clients was Michael Eisner. Now, I know that timing doesn't exactly match up, but I do believe that he made some sort of canoe for Disneyland at some point.
Oh, sure.
So
sounds like it. Or Michael Eisner just had one made for him, for his personal pond.
Because it didn't say Disney, it just said Michael Eisner, so that could also be it. But I like to speculate that he may have something to do with the current boats that are in use today. Now, on the other hand, in the video, which Jason's going to play in a second, a Disney cast member remarks about obtaining the canoe from, quote unquote, the staff shop, which then suggests that the vessel is made in-house. But there's nobody's talking about this. So while the boats may or may not be made by Disney, they are in fact painted by Disney. And the intricate designs that are seen on the front and back ends of each canoe and the rustic wood-like look to each canoe is created by Disney cast members using specialized techniques. Oh, go ahead and play the video. Sorry.
Oh, okay. He's like, yeah, that's really great, dude.
We're at the warehouse working on the Davy Crockett Explorer canoes. Check out the process. As it comes in our shop, we get it from the staff shop. From there, we'll start the process of laying it in and doing all the theming. The technique would be a spatter and then dragging the spatter to give the appearance of like a check mark on a birch bark. There's washes involved that go to kind of bring down tone it down a little bit. We use a textured paint for the seams. The gunnels are done sort of like a wood grain type of technique using brushes, water-based paint. Stitches and all that is done basically with a laying color, and then we do a wet blend with a shadow and a highlight. After a couple weeks, the canoe's complete. It feels great to see the team finish the project for all the people in the park to enjoy.
Yes, it does.
Those were a lot of terms. Did you get all of them?
Yes.
Right.
It was very special. But yeah, for those of you listening, it was just basically so what I think they did, Taren, is they get the canoe from the staff shop, meaning like when it comes in for refurbishment, and then because they were sanding all the paint down and then they're repainting it in there, and so they show you basically just how they're doing it.
But
yeah, right.
They
so they refinish it. So they sand it all down. They put a new coat of paint on it, make it look like birch, and all these just painting techniques and knocking down the splatter and doing some shading and stuff like that. And that's it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Once you're on these beautifully painted canoes, you are given a quick lesson on paddling by one of the 2 cast members riding with you.
Which everyone quickly forgets. Wait, I have to what?
The cast member on the front of the boat will provide details on best practices for paddling, and they are the main force in pushing the canoe around the rivers of America. The cast member in the back also provides much needed propulsion while also maintaining the steering of the vessel. Yes, the guest passengers are also very helpful in moving the boat forward, but let's be real, the 2 cast members are really doing most of the work.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You can be helpful.
Can be.
You should be helpful.
Could literally do nothing, and that boat's still going to get around the river. So.
Look, I'm not going to lie. There's been points in my life when I've been on that where you just put it in the water and then you just move it very slight. You're not really digging in.
Give it that turn.
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay. I'm just chilling. I'm tired, brother. Sorry, dude. And everyone's like, oh.
Yeah, it's a tough ride, honestly. The trip around the river takes about 12 minutes, give or take, and it gives you a really unique perspective of the park.
Yeah.
And you might see the same things along the river that you would on the Mark Twain or the sailing ship Columbia, but in the canoes, you're on the water.
Yeah, you're sea level, baby.
You are sea level.
Yeah.
You're touching the water. You're getting wet. You get to see in slower motion and much more up close the various details along the river. There's a small Native American scene that was kind of taken and animatronicized.
Yep. That's where all the Indians went.
That's where they went.
They got turned into robots. Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. You don't want to work? I'll make you work 24/7.
Yeah. There's also various animatronic, including deer, elk, chipmunks, rabbits, birds. And these all help to set the scene that you are smack dab in the middle of the frontiers of America.
I think they're called animaltronics.
Animatronics. Yeah. You're right.
Okay, thanks.
Now, what I like most about this ride is the totally unique view of the park. And if you're like me and you have always fantasized about swimming in the rivers of America, then riding the canoes is the closest that you're ever going to get.
Yeah, without getting banned from the parks.
Right. And it's also a completely different adventure each time. Sometimes it's kind of calm and you sort of meander around the river. And like Jason said, you kind of just do a little bit of work. But other times, and especially on busier days, you might end up racing another canoe, and that becomes a much more thrilling and exciting adventure. Now, speaking of racing the canoes, there is a long-standing cast member tradition attached to this attraction, the canoe races. Now, this competition started in 1963 as a challenge between the cast members who worked in Frontierland and the cast members who worked in Adventureland. Since then, however, the races have grown and become a more organized event. Today, the racing teams are made up of active and retired park workers, along with other employees from the Walt Disney Company. There are traditionally 8 to 16 people per team, and approximately 1,300 Disney employees participate each year.
Wow. It's a good portion of people.
It is. And in case you thought this was just fun and silly competition taking place on a single sunny afternoon, think again. To start, there are practices. Each team needs to practice, and this has to happen before the park is open to the public. Now, some teams do supplement practices off-site, but all teams must practice on the rivers of America. And during the race season, practices are held Monday through Thursday from 5:30 to 7:30 a.m.
Yeah, I got a real job. Sorry, dog. I mean, I don't, but if I did, I would say that.
Well, many of the participants end up going straight from practice to working at their various locations around the park.
Sure.
They're not going home.
No.
So this 8-week competition begins the first week of June with the captain's meeting. And then during June and July, teams are required to be certified in steering. And this equates to about 8 hours of practice time. As the 8th week of the competition approaches, teams gear up for the final races and the medal ceremony, recognizing 3 winning teams each year.
Here's the thing. 8 hours to be qualified in steering a canoe.
I think that's what they call the certification for canoeing?
It's because I've been whitewater rafting, and literally maybe 5 minutes of here's how to hold the paddle. If you see a rock, lean one way or the other. We'll see you in camp. And then you're on your own. I can't 8 hours of training just to paddle a canoe in an oval with no chop.
Is that maybe the term for like a cast member to be certified? Like you can now operate the ride.
No, because it's an actual canoeing term.
Oh, okay.
But it is
All right.
to be certified in it, you just have to basically canoe for 6 hours.
That's wild to me.
And in order to be a participant in this race, like they take it very seriously. So it's like you're going to do that. Like it's a certification, but like not really.
I would imagine
you
it's
wouldn't be in this race and not be certified.
I would imagine it's more corporate than a safety thing. You know, it's like an insurance thing, I would bet.
Maybe.
That's my thought.
Yeah, totally could be.
Because I mean, honestly, like I said, class 3 friggin' rapids, like, you know what I mean? Like boats tacoing around rocks in the middle of the water. And you're like, I don't know what I'm doing right now. I have no idea.
Yeah, I feel like you should not have done that.
It was my boat didn't taco. We had saved people. It was fun. Good time.
So the teams this is really cool. The teams who did make it to the final were allowed to bring their friends and family into Disneyland before it opened to regular visitors to watch and cheer them on.
Nice.
So that's cool. So the teams are also encouraged to come up with fun names, such as one team that was made up of guest relations employees who called themselves the Plaid Sticks after their plaid costumes that they had to wear.
God. All right.
And what's so special about this competition is that the teams tend to regroup year after year. So even if positions or titles change, they still come together for this competition. For instance, the Plaid Sticks continued to compete for years after coming up with their team and the name, and even after many of them moved on to various other positions around the park or even retired. This competition allows the cast members to remain friends and spend several weeks catching up with each other. And many of the cast members think about these races as their most revered memories at the park, and it's really what makes this attraction so special.
I'm sort of surprised that they don't do it in the middle of the day, like have the finals or something like that.
They gotta work. People are employees.
Well, I know, but you know what I mean?
Everybody would gather around.
1,300 participants.
Well, but the finals, right? Where you have like the last,
I think that would make it a spectacle instead of a team building, bonding, special experience.
Okay.
I
don't know. Maybe.
While those racers are trained to propel and steer the canoes in the correct and best possible way.
How about this? I'm going to interrupt you. How about this? Put it live on ESPN Plus. To finals and have like announcers and have a thing about it. That would be awesome.
That would be cool.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
While those racers are trained to propel and steer the canoes in the correct and best possible way, guests are only taught briefly how to paddle before their journey begins. And being a passenger in a boat that's so close to the water and with 19 potential strangers moving it forward for you, what keeps the boat from toppling over or sinking completely?
Mostly unsinkable.
Mostly unsinkable, exactly. You caught that. To start, each canoe contains an air ballast tank, which is a compartment within the floating structure used to provide stability for a vessel, control buoyancy, and provide a more even load distribution. Now, this air ballast is what makes the canoes mostly unsinkable. Now, if you've ever been on the Davy Crockett Explorer canoes, you may know that sitting in the boat, you are basically level with the water. And for me, there's a sheer amount of trust in physics that you have to surrender to. I don't like surrendering to physics because it doesn't make sense. I don't understand how a 2,000-pound boat can sit on the water and not sink. I don't get it. I don't understand how airplanes can fly, but I just trust that they do. Unfortunately, trust or not, even unsinkable boats, Titanic, sometimes sink. In 1974, a cast member named Ken recalls a warm summer day when he was assigned to pilot the canoes. A large group of beefy guys were next in line.
Wow.
And as the 16 200-plus pound men loaded the boat, the total weight in the canoe drove it almost to the gunnels. Drove it down almost to the gunnels. This, the cast member recalls, was pretty unusual as the canoes normally carried a mix of weights. But knowing that the canoe had a built-in air ballast tanks, so it would always float, he didn't see it as an issue. It turned out that these men, along with a second group of beefy men were part of two Southern California canoe racing teams. The Channel Island Vans and the San Diego Vans. And these guys were serious. But after the cast members realized that these two teams were planning to race, instead of reprimanding or warning, they joined the fun. They said, let's do it. Why not? Unfortunately, Ken's team had a handicap because his fellow cast member, who was stationed at the front of the boat, who calls out the timing of the paddling and the steering, had just returned from sick leave with laryngitis. Now, this caused their team to not have the same coordination as their opponents because they couldn't quite hear him, right? Laryngitis messes with your throat. It's kind of loud out there on the river.
Sure, yeah.
So the timing of their paddling and steering just started rocking the boat a bit. And as the canoe approached the Mark Twain dock, the uncoordinated paddling and rocking caused it to start filling with water. And by the time they passed the dock, the boat had about 6 to 8 inches of water in the canoe floor, along with 16 200-pound men. Ken recalled steering the canoe towards Tom Sawyer's Island, yelling to the team that the canoe will not sink. Don't worry. But at that moment, the cast member with laryngitis stood up on the boat and instructed the guys to stay in the boat and just keep paddling. But since he couldn't be heard, they all instead followed his action and stood up together at the same time, momentarily forcing the canoe down into the water, and the boat went straight down and then almost instantly back up because it can't really sink.
Right. It can't sink for long.
Right.
Yeah.
And this left the interior water level completely flush with the river. And at this point, everybody in the boat jumped out except for Ken, even the cast member. Everybody's jumping out. They're all swimming to shore. And as he recalls, there I was, wet up to my shoulder, standing in a water-filled canoe with 17 others around me in the river swimming toward Tom Sawyer Island. Luckily for Ken and his coworker, the canoeing teams took the blame for the entire debacle, and the clubs were billed for something like $20,000 in damages.
God.
They made a mess of this whole situation.
Whoa.
But Ken and his coworker, they were questioned, by management.
Sure.
Like, what happened? But they didn't get fired or anything. They just, luckily, the canoeing clubs said it was us. Later, in 1990, one of the canoes sank again. This time, the cause is debated. Passengers on the canoe ride that day claimed that the ride operators were to blame by encouraging a race with another canoe on another boat, and that their calls to just paddle faster caused the canoe to sink. Now, if you've ever been on this ride, this happens all the time. If it's a even slightly busy day, if this ride is open, there are two canoes on the river at the same time, and at some point during your journey, you race another canoe. And it's really fun. That's not that weird. It might sound weird if you've never been on it, but that's not weird. Those ride operators were doing what they're told to do. There's nothing weird about that.
Yeah.
According to the ride operators, this particular canoe had several, in hindsight too many, heavy-set riders pushing the weight limit of the boat. And there were several apparently 20-somethings on the boat not listening to or adhering to the cast members' instructions and warnings and purposefully rocking the boat and splashing. Now, regardless of who was at fault, the canoe ended up taking on too much water and eventually sinking into the 8-foot-deep rivers of America. This caused the 15 passengers to swim to the edge and or be rescued by cast members, as some of them couldn't swim, even though...
Imagine
Were they wearing
that.
vests?
Not at that time, no. Not in 1990. No one was injured in this incident. However, many of the guests were very upset at having lost or broken jewelry, watches, and cameras. Now, there hasn't been a notable sinking incident since.
Well, there you go.
So there you go.
A million days without an accident.
Exactly. Beyond these couple of mishaps, the Davy Crockett Explorer canoes are such a special attraction at Disneyland. And while they don't have a particularly rich Disney-centric history like some of the other rides, they do carry the spirit of the early park days. And they offer a totally different type of activity than can be found anywhere else in the park. So whether you go on the canoes to get a unique perspective of the park, to get a quick upper body workout, or to get inevitably splashed by the young child in front of you, I highly suggest experiencing this very unusual attraction, which, as simple as it is, does preserve that retro early day feeling that we're all so desperate to find at the parks. And this ride is almost entirely unchanged since it was first opened. And it offers as close to a trip back in time as you are ever going to get. So I suggest you do it. And that is
Absolutely.
the history of Davy Crockett's Explorer canoes.
There you go. Very good, Taren. Yeah, I love that ride. I think it's great.
I think it's a great ride.
I used to hate it. I used to think it was dumb, and then I did it, and I was like, wow, I actually really enjoy this.
Yeah, I finally went on it for the first time last year.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's great.
Tons of fun.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I think it doesn't have a lot of documented history because it was from early on. Like, I was trying to figure out why there's not a lot of, like, in every ride, you know who the manufacturer is, like what Imagineer, but like, I think that's the problem is there's not really any Imagineers attached to this ride.
Yeah.
It's not a ride. It's an activity, right? It's kind of different.
Well, yeah, I think also it sounds like they were just friggin' canoes off the shelf, or like Aero Development had to invent a whole entire like thing, right? So it's like for Matterhorn and such. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well. Yeah, there probably wasn't a whole lot going on because they already had Rivers of America with the boats and everything. So like, oh, we could put canoes. It's like, it just kind of one of those plug and play afterthought things that just stuck around, but there is no plussing up. You don't need to do it. Maybe you change the designs on the canoe, but for the most part, you're just going in a friggin' oval.
Yeah. I mean, I hate this saying, but it is what it is.
It is what it is, man. Okay, we are going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to figure out what Erik has been eating again. That friggin' guy. Yeah. Eat me out of house and home. You eat me out the house and home. Anyway, hang on one. Ears up. We'll be right back.
Back to Ears Up, where the opinions never stop.
Ever. Speaking of things that you don't need my opinion on, the 21st Amendment. You know, 21stamendment.com right now. Figure out where you can buy pretty much the best craft beer going for you. And, you know, if you have a local craft brewery, definitely always support your local craft brewery as well. But if you're out traveling or you want to get a break or you want to support a really great craft brewery from wherever you are not, it's the 21st Amendment all day, every day. Their beers travel great, which is a big problem in the craft beer industry, to be honest with you. And they taste amazing all the time. Can't complain about a 2-1A, baby. You know what I'm trying to say? Especially right now, there's the Hell or High pomegranate out in the world, out in the wilderness. So go check that out if you're a big pomegranate fan. I know after that big storm we just had, it's hard to think about a light and refreshing beer. But like the past couple of days here, been great. Mm-hmm. Sunny and not really warm. It's freezing right now, but this is when you want something like that. It's like, I'm ready for spring, man. Let's go. The more spring feeling beer I can drink, maybe that will rush the seasons forward.
Well, and I think it's interesting that you see it as a spring beer because it is refreshing, but I definitely think of it as a wintry beer because of the the pomegranate. Pomegranate to me is like a very holiday wintry.
I could see that
flavor.
Yeah.
I don't really think of it as a spring beer. I was just sort of trying to think of something to say.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I'm glad.
It could be a spring beer.
It's a year-round beer.
Yeah, there you go.
Year-round favorite. Ryan goes, define freezing. Yeah, I understand. It doesn't snow in the Bay Area, but it's still freezing for us, okay? What do you want? What do you want from me? I'm in short. Give me a break. Okay, Erik. What are you eating, brother?
I am eating at the Palm Breeze Bar at the Disneyland Hotel.
Nice. It looks like your office, so I didn't know.
Oh, hang on. Wait, I can fix that.
Hey, there you are.
Hey, it's the Palm Breeze Bar.
You really are there.
You're literally on the bar.
That's great.
Yes.
Yeah, the bartender's going to come and pinch your butt.
He works there now.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm behind it. Yeah, well.
That looks awesome, by the way.
It's
like the
so
artwork.
Cool.
I see the Millennium Falcon in the back on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's a huge Mary Blair style mural back there that has just attractions from around the park.
Yeah.
Nods to everything.
Neat. That is very cool. I don't know why I'm like enamored with it so much, but it's good. Looks cool.
The colors are great. It's mid-century modern, which is really going over pretty well right now.
Yeah, the TVs really scream mid-century modern.
Yeah, that's true. But this is underneath the DVC tower, the new tower at the Disneyland Hotel.
Okay.
So brand new, stayed there the last time I was there in December. And essentially, this is a glorified pool bar. So I will say that. But it's a cool mid-century modern design pool bar. And it's open, but you can see there's a ceiling above it. If it's raining, there are places you could sit that are underneath cover. There are heaters around everywhere. And I was there like when I went to the bar, it was December 23rd, and it was pretty chilly out. It was great in the bar. It felt fantastic in there. They've got plenty of tables with cool seating around everywhere. The bar itself is fairly large. It's kind of difficult to get to, which I think keeps the seats open. I never saw it more than half full, and it's new, very new. It's only been there for a few months, but
that's rare for something that Disney does, especially at the parks, at the resort, Disneyland resort, to be empty like that.
Right.
So new.
Right. Yeah. You'd think it's just vloggers everywhere filming their food. I took plenty of pictures of my own food. No hate here.
Well, look, man, it's that episode of Black Mirrors. You have to participate in what everyone else is doing, or they're going to downvote you or whatever.
I never saw that, but okay.
It's like the best. It's only the only good episode they have.
Okay. Love the concept. Well, yeah. So the building, the actual DVC tower, you know how it used to be you could kind of walk around the entire area, the entire pool area. They've kind of changed that. So if you walk in the front doors of the Disneyland Hotel, you've got to walk to get to if you walk to the Disneyland Hotel, you've got to walk to the DVC tower. It's a decent way to go. You've got to walk around the entire pool. If you're coming in from downtown Disney, which is probably where you two can reference this and where most people who have been to the area are, you walk in from downtown Disney, you take a left, you pass Trader Sam's, you take a right, and you head straight toward, this is where the new tower is. You walk straight forward up into the new tower. So it's not intuitive that there is a bar there unless somebody has told you. You can't see it from Trader Sam's. You can't see it from the front lobby. It's kind of hidden.
Okay.
And it'll get its audience. And I've talked to plenty of people who have been there. Maybe not plenty. Some people who have been there already because they were looking for it.
It's in the DVC tower?
Yeah, what you do is you pass into the lobby of the DVC tower, and which is great. I should show some pictures at some point about that, or talk about the new hotel tower. It's really well designed, very colorful, very different from the other towers, but none of them are really the same at this point anyway. You walk through the lobby, past the DVC welcome home person who stands at a podium and says welcome home to everybody, because that's what they do at DVC buildings. And then you walk back outside toward a pair of large wrought iron gates that are the gates to the pool area.
I see. I'm looking at pictures now. Now I get it. I get it. Right. Okay.
And so you walk through there into, I'll change the picture just for reference. I loaded up another one. This is where you kind of first enter in, well, maybe it's a little past where you first enter in. You walk, and in this image here, sorry, listeners, this perspective would be I'm sitting at the bar with my back to the pool.
Okay.
And this is kind of the way it's laid out. There are seats around. There are kids running around, going swimming. Not so much.
They should be walking, not running, first of all.
Very unsafe.
Yeah. How dare them.
And you don't have to be a member to go into this area?
No, absolutely not. You can just walk into the hotel, walk through. If the pool's open, the bar's open, and just, well, maybe the bar's not open first thing in the morning. I didn't check that. It's open for lunch and dinner.
It's fine. This is fine, Eric. You're good.
Yeah. I don't like to be wrong.
No, that's all right.
But yeah, you see there are these large, interesting looking kind of pinkish planters with plants in them. There are areas of low kind of shrubbery around, just kind of scattered around the whole area. It's really well designed. There's a lot of natural plant life going on. You've got these floral designs above you. It's simultaneously, especially at night, it's simultaneously bright with all the colors, but kind of dark and cozy. It's great.
It looks cool. It's like right off the pool. That's what I didn't really understand, but it's like it's right there. So that's cool.
Yeah. I had no idea it was a pool bar until they went there and went, oh, now I get where it is. Same thing.
What do they got there? What's good there?
What is good there? They've got quite a bit. It's a little pricey. If you like, we can play the price game.
I already looked at the menu.
Okay.
Maybe Taren wants to play the price game.
Okay. So appetizers are called shareables, of course. And feed multiple people. How much would you pay for
multiple people? Define multiple people with some of this stuff. I
don't know. It's a full meal. I've seen some of these. I didn't get any of the shareables. Cheese fry poutine. And
Ooh.
I'm sorry, RGH, it's still a poutine. Okay, we've had arguments about poutine in the past.
What's to argue about?
Yeah.
He does. It's the Ralph Brennan's poutine, which will be in a few episodes.
Oh, okay. All right.
How much would that be? I would say $12.
19, and that's the cheapest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh,
The most
wow.
expensive. There's a fish, like a fish platter of market fish, shrimp, and crab. That's $29. There's also an ahi tuna that is $29. They looked great.
Dang.
But yeah, it's a pricey establishment.
Mhm.
Salads. There are basically two salads, an heirloom beet salad and a Southwest salad. I loved the beet salad. That's what I had for dinner.
That sounds good.
The night that I was there. And you can get salmon, flat iron steak, or chicken breast on either of them.
These people are trying to say a grilled prime flat iron steak on a Southwest salad is $38 friggin' dollars.
Consider that the salad is 22, sir.
Jeez.
Right.
For a salad?
Yeah, so you're adding flat iron steak for math. What is it, $15 more? 50. God, what are you doing? What are you guys doing here?
Dang.
Yeah. They've got a few plant-based options of other things that are on the menu. Only
Like, here's
no,
what I
not
don't
a few. There's
understand.
two.
They have a jumbo lump crab roll sandwich for $29.
It's enormous.
A Southwest salad for $6 less. Like this is the thing I always want to complain about with prices at Disneyland. It's like they don't make any sense.
Yeah.
They price one thing here and then everything else is just above and beyond. It just there's no rhyme or reason for it.
Yeah.
Like that should not be a $6 difference between a lobster or crab sandwich essentially and a salad. That is insane.
The crab roll is enormous and is one of the most expensive things on the menu, other than a salad with a steak on it. The burger is $26. Chicken sandwich, what do you think, Taren?
Chicken sandwich?
Spicy.
Oh,
Spicy chicken sandwich.
and crisp.
Does it come with fries?
Yes.
Okay.
And aioli.
Given what we've heard so far, I'm going to go, and I can't imagine paying this, but I'm going to say $24.
Pretty darn close. 23.
Okay.
Although by the time we go, it'll be $39.
I know. Exactly.
There's potential for that, yes. They have two of the same pizzas that they have over at the Hearthstone it's the charcuterie pizza, which is great, and the 4-cheese pizza, which is also pretty good, 24 and 21.
I'm going to skip down to the cocktails.
The cocktails,
because
yeah.
these people are trying to charge $20 for a margarita, and that pisses me off. $18 for a gin and tonic. Are you kidding me?
And these are the regular ones. These are the regular drinks. Go down to Stirred and Strong on the menu.
I guess like for the gin and tonic, it's like elderflower liqueur, black pepper, rosemary syrup. I mean, lemon juice, elderflower tonic.
Got some
Look,
fancy.
it sounds good. Yeah, it sounds fancy, but $18. Considering you get a Manhattan at Carthay for just about that without all the extra fluff. So this is again what I'm talking about with pricing. What means anything anymore? It doesn't mean, like, you look at this price and you go $18. Okay, there's a lot going on. It's a craft cocktail, but the Manhattan is friggin' bullet and vermouth. Like it's nothing, and it's that much money. Also, it doesn't make any sense. Bullet is cheap as hell.
It's not even the best vermouth.
No,
It's probably like, what is it, Dolan or?
God, I have no idea, honestly. But what I do like down, they have, in the beer, they have a lot of local beer, which is great. And then they have a non-alcoholic Mexican lager from Ration Ale, which I love. I think that's great. I've been railing about that forever. Every place, every bar, every restaurant should have at least one good non-alcoholic option.
Yeah.
They've been better at that for about a year now.
I think that's great. What pisses me off is that it's $11. It's the same price as the beers.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, that is insane.
Is that the
to
case
me.
at the grocery store?
Yes.
Are they about the same?
They're about the
as-
same.
as a
Actually,
beer?
they're a little bit more expensive,
Well,
which upsets me.
Well, yeah, that I guess I could see that being upsetting, but then you're upset at the industry, not at Disney at that point, right? Because if they're doing the same thing.
No, I'm not. Well, I don't care.
If you want to be upset at Disney, try a Modelo for $12.
Oh my gosh, really?
The thing
Yikes.
that killed me about that, and we talked about this in the Discord when I was there that night. After I finished dinner, I thought, well, maybe I can get into Sam's, have a drink, and go back and go to bed. And Sam's was hopping, so I decided to walk across the street to the the Grand Californian and go to Hearthstone Lounge, where a Modelo was $10.
Oh, wow.
I didn't get it, but I was
just
charmed.
a $2 difference on the same property.
Yeah.
It's across the street.
Friggin' insane, man. These people, I swear to God, I would love to talk to their beverage like director or whatever, because I just don't get it unless they're doing, they got them on stare in the back. Unless they're doing it on purpose, where it's like, we're going to collectively price things differently here based on where you are. And then 20 yards away, it's a little different because it has more I don't know. It's weird.
It's gotta be the vibe. It's hanging out at a cool place by a pool and hot day. Great.
See, I'm so
late
poor.
night.
Like
Great.
nothing is cool. Nothing is cool enough to pay for it like that. It's just not. I'm not going to do it. But it looks like a cool place. And, if I was hungry by the pool, I would probably get the cheapest thing there and some water.
And you did say that the portions were big.
I did not finish that salad. And the appetizers were very big. Definitely.
Taren's surprised at you. Oh.
I mean, if you didn't finish the salad, it must be either terrible or a really big salad.
Oh, it was a great salad, and
that is cool. I will tone down my rhetoric a little bit about this place then, because if they give you so much food and a salad, which they really should, because salad's cheap.
Look up a picture of that lobster roll. It is not. I can't imagine eating that thing myself.
I did look at it, and I could.
Is it big?
But yeah, it's big.
Okay. Could I?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, fine.
It honestly looks great. The roll looks so soft and.
I have a feeling like the roll more than the crab.
No, I like crab a lot.
I know. But you like rolls, like soft roll. You got a thing for soft roll.
I do have a thing for soft rolls.
All right, Erik, is that what you're eating?
That's what I was eating.
Nice. I love it, dude. Sounds great. So everyone go there. Meet Erik at the bar.
Yeah, I like it.
Someday.
I'd eat there.
Someday. Yeah, we could have our meetup there one day. Just invade DVC Tower.
But we're not paying.
But we're not paying. No, the doctor will pay.
Because you fainted, or
no, because you're buying. I don't know.
Oh, I'm the doctor. Oh,
I don't know.
Okay,
whatever.
Where's that degree?
When you turn your head, the poster behind you. Of the head,
the Maelstrom poster.
Just the head pops.
Focus
up.
is on. It is just a head.
Yeah, but it's just that. Nothing else around it pops up when you turn because it's looking for a face.
It's looking for a face.
So if you don't have a face, yeah. Anyway, whatever. Who cares? Let me try to think. I think that is it. Yeah, I think that's it.
All right.
I think I covered everything we had to cover. I'm wearing the Chapek shirt, everybody, so you can check that out on YouTube if you want to check it out. It's big, it's nice, comfortable, looks good. I can't wait to wear this in public and have people go, what is that? You can check that out on our Etsy page. All right, everybody, that's it. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you to Rob for joining us for a little bit of Star Wars news. You can check out more Star Wars geek and dork information over on Bantha Milk podcast, of course, part of the EarzUp network of family of podcasts. All right. Yeah. Thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning in. And till next time, I'll see you later. Oh, should we talk about Jeremy real fast? Let's talk about Jeremy real fast.
Oh, yeah.
So in case you haven't listened to the last In Depth, Jeremy is retiring from In Depth. Next week will be his last In Depth show ever. Yeah. He just he hit me with that last week right before we go on the air. And Taren knows.
So Jeremy-like.
Taren knows exactly how much I really love having to think about stuff before I do this job. It makes it so much easier. But I knew it was coming for a while, and he basically was just like, look, I'm just too tired. I have so much work to do. I'm traveling more than ever now. Because he reminded me, we started in like 2019, and then lockdown happened, and we sort of just like got in this like rhythm. And he was telling me, even before he started traveling again for work, he said, there's going to come a time when I can't do this anymore because of travel and stuff. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And we fought about it for a little bit. And then eventually he was like, he called it and he goes, okay, I can't do it anymore. I'm too busy. The love that I have for the parks is sort of gone too. And I know that comes through and I don't want it to anymore. And because he was like, I went to Epcot the other night. I was there for 3 hours. I left because I hated it. I had the worst time. And I don't want to do that. I don't want that to come across anymore. And I said, okay, that's fair, man. That's totally fair. So That'll be his last show. I'm going to try to find some clips, maybe do a little best of send off for Jeremy.
That'll be fun.
But of course, we'll talk about news. There's a lot of good news, a lot of good Jeremy rant news, I think, in the in the news cycle today or this week.
Got to get one last good rant out of him.
Yeah, well, the biggest one I think I'll cover next week is that there was a Forbes article that came out that said that the like a list of top overrated CEOs. Number 1 was Elon Musk. Number 2, Bob Iger.
Oh gosh.
And it's voted on by like 100 other business people. So it's like a group of peers.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ouch.
And it's like, but then he just announced that Disney's partnering with Fortnite or some garbage like that, and their stock burst.
I bet.
It's at $110 right now. The line, you can tell when the announcement happened, it was yesterday at 4:00 and went burns, big wall. Hopefully it can sustain, but I like that it took Disney doing something with the makers of Fortnite to actually for people to care.
There are a lot of teenage Twitch streamers that are very, very wealthy because of their product that are going to they're going to be the ones trying to take over the board of directors next.
Honestly, they should. Well, speaking of board of directors, I reached out to Nelson Peltz's people to get an interview.
Oh.
I haven't heard back, but we'll see.
That'd be fun.
I
That'd
know.
be wild.
I know.
I'd love that.
Yeah, me too. All right, that's it. So next in depth, we want to catch it live, and you can say goodbye to Jeremy. You know what? Maybe I'll have a call in. Maybe I'll leave the phones open. That'd be kind of fun.
That'd be fun.
Or if you want to leave him a voicemail, I don't know if you want. It's on our website. You can do that too, or send me an email. I'll read him a message. Whatever.
I got a voicemail today.
He's not completely leaving the network, right? Like
he's not completely leaving the network. No, he'll still do his Spectro. Yeah, and that was the other thing is that here, let me turn the sound off. He wants to do more Spectro radio, Spectro type segments.
I want that too.
Yeah. So he's like, I can't. He goes, I can't do everything. So hopefully this will afford him more time to do that, so he can be way more selective about when he comes on, and it's a whole thing.
And
so
the topic, he can pick things that he enjoys talking about.
Yeah. So as far as the future of In Depth, I don't know what's going to happen. I'll probably do the next one by myself. I don't know. We'll see. And I might just not do it. I might just stop doing it. Because it is a lot of work and whatever. And then if I think about it and I want to like revisit it, I'll probably just split it out into its own feed, which I should have done in the first place. And that's sort of problematic with like some of the reviews we've gotten were like the negative reviews, which whatever, who cares, were based on that show because it's all news and opinion driven.
Right.
And so it's sort of like, messes with everything. But so I don't know. We'll see. Things are up in the air right now. And but everything's fine. I'm okay with it.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. We're getting out of here now.
All right. Let's do it.
Okay.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. Until next time, we will see you in the parks.